Day 6 in Baja. I can really only describe this day as long and frustrating with like 2 highlights. For this reason, there isn't a whole lot of footage from this day, but we did stop at Coco's Corner, so look forward to that. We left San Ignacio and hit a giant fog bank outside of Gaerne that was impossible to see through and made everything wet and cold. Sound familiar? Carl and I almost got taken out by a truck that was trying to pass all the semis in the oncoming lane in a fog bank. My shield looked like we had went through a rainstorm, and my gloves were soaked, so we stopped and got gas and had a little snack break. When we took off again, it was Carl's turn to feel water bottle disaster. One of them popped up, and the other one just kind of like sat on his saddlebag. So he pulled over the side of the road to fix it, and the rest of the group caught up with us. We learned that they experienced their own little detour going through Gaerne instead of going straight the way that we had gone. So we had to send them back to the last town to get gas, so they would have enough to get from the gas station all the way to San Felipe. We went on and got stopped at a military checkpoint for the first time. They asked Carl where we were going and if he had drugs. We learned later that Emerald also got searched. They straight up opened up her saddlebags and were poking through her camping stuff. Past there, we stopped at the unofficial Gasolina Truck so that Carl could fill up his gas tank, which is probably a good thing because we noticed that Jason's chain was a little bit worse for wear. So we pulled under the abandoned building that kind of looks like an abandoned strip mall or something so that we would be in the shade while we fixed his chain and stuff. And George and the rest of the group flew by us. Emerald and John saw us, but George did not, and he was hauling butt. There was no service. John's map wasn't working, so he had no way of knowing where we were supposed to be going. And there was no way for us to get a hold of them to make them stop. They went on for another hour past the turnout that we were supposed to take to go to San Felipe. I have a little bit of a temper. Anybody who knows me knows that I have the ability to work myself up, no problem. So when we finished tightening Jason's chain and we hit the road speeding to try to go find them, at about the half-hour mark when we hadn't seen them, I started to get a little pissed. Poor Carl got to hear all about it because we were on the comms together, but he managed to calm me down so I wasn't explosive mad when we finally caught up to them. I almost cried frustration tears when Emerald told me that the only reason they had even stopped was because she needed a snack break. P.S. Emerald, you were the best travel partner ever. I love you. We had to go all the way back to the Gasolina Truck to fill up to make up for our detour. Realistically, not very many people probably would have noticed us trying to fix a chain on a bike in the shade. And looking back on it now, we should have had some kind of designated signal to put on the side of the road to mark that we had stopped. But at that moment in time, I was firecracker pissed and swearing up and down that I was never going to travel in a group that big ever again. And that there was reasons that I traveled solo. We headed north again, and our first try to follow the GPS took us down this hella sandy road. 2 minutes in, Carl went down in front of me. I stopped. Behind me, George went down, and then Emerald went down to avoid hitting him. Jason was up front and came back and told us that it only got worse from there, so the group decided that we would go back and try the official road to San Felipe, which is also unpaved, but is a little bit more forgiving than the deep sand for big bikes. That road led us to Coco's Corner, where we proudly added to Coco's collection our next adventure bandana. We did some rad sandy whoops, which were a ton of fun, before breaking out onto the other side of the mountains and down to the coast. We got to the gas station at dusk, and the majority vote of the group decided that they didn't want to camp, so we ended up at this overpriced hotel, which was a total tourist trap. It was $100 a night, and the restaurant menu was all in USD and ranged between $14 to $30 a plate. You had to pay for the Wi-Fi password and then for every gigabyte you used. On top of that, there were no plugins in any of the rooms, just one light in the middle of the room and one light in the bathroom. Bonus, my boots were still damp from trekking in the river the day before, so when I pulled my boots off at the hotel, I had swamp foot so bad. My feet hurt so bad. The sunrise the next morning and watching Carl and Jason paddling around in morning twilight more than paid for the room. But more about that next time.